Jose Mourinho is back.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Did EPL miss him? Do you think EPL
I
miss
think
him?
they did. We all missed him.
Tokwe, did you miss him?
Yes, I miss his pressers. I miss the bites he brings to the league, but he's mostly adored from afar. I wouldn't want him back at my club.
Oh,
My club was in
Can you
England.
imagine?
I like him from afar.
I have something to say about that.
Well-
Mourinho holds the record. He's Madrid 2011 set. They hold the record for the highest number of goals ever scored by a team in a 38 league format. Yeah, 121 goals.
Just hold on that thought. And welcome to the Sports Lounge on ELEGBETE TV. There was a rumble in the APL this past week because not the special one, not the happy one, the humble one is back. And I have the guys at the studio with me to look through it. You already know these two amazing analysts, the best in Nigeria actually. And I have an amazing guest on my immediate left here, and his name is Temitope Badmos. Temitope Badmos is an HR professional, and Tope, it's good to have you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here to discuss passion.
Oh, football is your passion?
Of course.
Temitope, I have something anti-eye. I've been looking for work since 2017.
HR professional.
Since now that I could not find your profile on LinkedIn, and this might just link me up. Please,
He will see you when you find work.
I need a job. I want to see who wants to prosper.
Well, there are a lot of enjoyable activities, sporting activities over the past week, and we'll be going straight into it. There was a big match on Saturday, and it was Manchester City versus Chelsea. Edafi, let me start with you. Chelsea, in the first few minutes of that game, looked like they would blast off Manchester City because they played brilliant attacking, counter-attacking football. You saw the brilliant move from Lampard, removing Mason Mount from a 4-3-1 to a 4-3-3, bringing in Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic. But what happened to Chelsea in that game? Just break it down for us.
For me, I might be wrong with this, but this is what I think happened. Chelsea started game like, okay, let's just give it our all. But that all was not expanded into a 90 minutes plus added time period. It was, put into, let's say, the first 25, 30 minutes of the game. But even at that, as they were playing it, it was like fighting against a bully for the very first time.
Okay.
You're still conscious of the fact that this guy used to smack my head against the wall, this guy used to beat me, this guy used to ruffle me up and all that. So there was that fear, there was glint of fear in their play. There was no really direct route to go. More like, let's destabilize them, let's make Man City not get into their rhythm. But there was no Chelsea's intent of let's score one and then get the second one the way they used to play against the lower bottom teams.
Yeah.
Rather, I saw a Chelsea team that was playing. We know who Man City is. We know that they can score a lot of goals, but not be our head. They're not good man to us. Let's make sure it doesn't happen to us. Because last time they visited it was 6-0.
6-0. So if you there was a feeling of deja vu.
People say it doesn't play in the head, but I say it does. It does. There is that fear of, okay, let's not go there again and mess ourselves up and concede 6. Don't forget that the people that concede 6 are regarded as more senior players compared to this group of players. So they will play with that little fear. Then they scored 1 goal on the run of play. But look at the game tactically very well. All through the season, we've seen Tammy Abraham lead the line up front. But in this game, he was dropping too deep. He was not really opening himself up, hanging on the shoulder of the last man, waiting for that ball to be thrown behind the defenders and then go. And then Man City's defense is not really as fantastic as they used to be.
Chelsea looked like he could score like 3 goals.
Good. But Abraham was nowhere to be found at the pinnacle, at the very, very top of the arrow. And that was one problem because the way the game is, just like Precious explained the Morata situation last episode, you could see that this arrow this time was blunt because the head was not inverted. Exactly. And that inversion was what made it difficult for all the chances they were creating. There was nobody to meet, as church people would say, meet the ball at the point of your need. There was nobody to meet the ball at the final crossing point. So Man City scored
from
on the run of play. Chelsea were attacking, trying to go get the second goal. Fernandinho, fantastic. Nobody does it better when it comes to breaking play in the middle of the park, even though he was playing as center defender. But he overlapped Rodrigo, stopped the ball, got it to Kevin De Bruyne, who passes to Silva, and then Silva wanted to find somebody else, but the ball was blocked. And I like that goal anyway because they used Jorginho or how do you guys call it? Jorginho or Jorginho, whatever they call it. But they use him as a mopping stick to mop the floor. Then that Mahrez goal, what I like about Mahrez goal is very predictable. You know that that's what he's going to do. You know he's not going to dance to the byline and cross the ball in. You know that when he gets the ball to his right, he's going to wave it back into his left foot and try to get in between the player. You know that already, but he will still do it. Just like you said about Messi, I think in the 6th or 7th episode, everybody knows that this is what he's going to do,
but you can't stop him. You can't stop him.
Somebody's going to do, and the person still goes ahead to do it and delivers on it. For me, it's excellent. 2 great goals, but Man City are playing the kind of game that will make them still get beaten the way Wolves beat them. If Chelsea had just played like Wolves, sit back, soak up the pressure, hit them on the counter, it will be good because there's one player in Man City right now that is playing against Man City. His name is Conor Aguero. He's playing against Man City. Every game he's played in the last 3 or 4 games, he's been playing against Man City. And I don't think Pep Guardiola wants to drop him or doesn't want to create another crisis. Yeah. That's not good for Man City.
No, thank you very much, Edafi. I would like to, before I come to you, Precious, Edafi mentioned something. The nominees for the African Player of the Year is out. And you said something about Mahrez. But do you think Mahrez should be he won the EPL and won the AFCON as well. Do you think he should be the African Player of the Year?
These awards are individual awards. Okay. The best player over the past 3 years, best African footballer of the past 3 years has been Sadio Mane. There is nobody that comes close. Mahrez doesn't start games. Mahrez, the moment Bernardo Silva comes back, is going back to the bench. Sadio Mane is, probably after Mo Salah and Alisson, Sadio Mane is the first name on that team sheet. So I do not think anybody on that list should win it ahead of Sadio Mane.
Sadio Mane for top one.
I agree with Top. Don't embarrass me. I agree. Mahrez is not consistent. Another thing with Mahrez is not consistent. But in the last 8 or 9 months, Sadio Mane is practically carrying Liverpool on his shoulder. Carrying that team on his shoulder. Late goals, creating. He doesn't get as much assist as you expect, but the way he tracks back to go block the opposition from scoring or getting those crosses in, he's done more blocks from a forward player than any other player. Yeah. I don't know the statistics like Precious, but if you check, most times is the one who tracks back. Is the reason why they beat Man City because he was on Raheem Sterling to a point where Raheem Sterling couldn't put in a cross through. So many games where he comes in very late against Leicester, won that penalty, against Aston Villa. Yeah. Key games, and those are the games that have made Liverpool not to win title over the last 30 years, where they can't grind results. So, now what? For me, I've given it to Mane already.
Let's bring Precious into it. Precious, still sticking on the Chelsea-Manchester City game. Yeah. One issue or one criticism on the Chelsea team is that they are not able to beat the big teams. Do you think that's what, like he said, the fear played on?
I think he just nailed it. There's something called big game mentality, right? And this current Chelsea team, they lack that big game mentality. You see them when they play against the small teams, they do very well. He made reference about Tammy Abraham, and I have my reservations about Tammy when it comes to the big matches. Against Liverpool, it was the same thing. Yeah. Again, now it's happened against Man City. Don't be surprised when they play Arsenal. Tammy is facing David Lewis. The same thing will happen.
No, beat Arsenal.
I don't think the matter of beating Arsenal, but with Tammy performing. Yeah, with Tammy performing. I think that's what he's saying.
And he's supposed to be the focal point of the Chelsea attack.
Well, while you have that point, I think if I'm from Frank Lampard, what I'll do is first off, Arsenal are the most susceptible team to crosses. Olivier Giroud, nobody meets crosses.
And that brings us. I think that brings us.
No, Arsenal is easy. This all of us here form a team of 11 who score like
that brings me to the issue of Lampard's tactical ineptitudeness against Man City. You have one of the best crossers of the ball in the Premier League in Reece James. Yeah. That guy's crosses were like they are awesome. Yeah. You have a very good striker who is aerially very sound, like Olivier Giroud. You left him on the bench.
He doesn't seem to rate.
He brought in Michi Batshuayi.
He doesn't seem to rate.
He was offside 3 times in 7 minutes.
It was funny like that. 3 times in 7 minutes. People have epilepsy.
So I think Lampard will grow into it. Once they win the first big match, they will kick on from there.
But I think Olivier Giroud needs to grow dreadlocks.
so that we'll start playing it.
To leave the line. They have a dreadlock fetish.
Anyway,
I could start as an attacker for Chelsea if I go to London.
You think so? Anyways, let's bring you into it now. Jan, you're an HR practitioner, you know the best thing about sacking, right? Have you ever been in the position that you have to be the one to sack someone?
It's
Or
not,
recommend
it's not,
Or recommend someone sack later?
it's one of the worst things we don't like to get involved in. So
But it's
it's
something you have to-
inevitable, but we have to do it.
It's the job.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with it.
Saying that, were Tottenham right to sack Pochettino? That's the first question I'll ask. Secondly, the timing, was it wrong?
Okay, so here's what I think. I think the sacking of Pochettino was unjustifiable. It was hasty and borderline ridiculous. For majorly, one reason why I think so is because every club is shaped by expectations. So, and these expectations have come to determine the status of football clubs. So, for example, the elite clubs have their minimum expectations to be a coach has to deliver the league or the Champions League. Or at least the FA Cup. You at least have to win one to remain in the job. And what you find at these clubs is that the club ensure that the manager in charge doesn't lack any resource to get that minimum requirement. So at Real Madrid, at Barcelona, at Bayern, the managers are in charge of transfers. They're in charge of day-to-day running of this club. And that is not the same with Pochettino. To be specific, July this year, they interviewed Pochettino and he was saying at some point the club will have to change his job description because he specifically said that he is not in charge of transfers. The question posed to him was that why didn't you buy a right back? Why are you playing Sissoko as a right back when you knew that Walker was gone and you are not trusting your youth? He said he was not in charge of transfers, that the club would have to change his title to a coach.
But no manager is in charge of transfer anymore in football today.
I was about to say
Currently,
that.
no
I was
manager.
about
Real Madrid, the coaches don't sign anybody. You can make requests. The coach, the management, president of management might decide to sign for you or not. Take Real Madrid for instance. Zidane wanted Garibay gone, wanted Pogba, wanted this person, that person, Mbappe. They didn't come. Zidane, they just signed. What's that? Ebalun. Hazard. They just signed him for the sake of it. So go to Barcelona. The coach does not even know how they sign players. Name any club today. Even the great Jose Mourinho couldn't sign players at Manchester United. So that excuse doesn't cut it for me. For Pochettino, Pochettino has built a team that misplaced their priority. That's my take. Success begins with the small trophies. Knowing that you're chasing the league title in 2016, that everybody left for you to win and you didn't win it, that was massive failure. That for me was massive failure. The thing is, Pochettino enjoyed flying on so much under the radar. Nobody talks about him. Nobody mentioned him. This is a team that at one time in this league had the best central defensive pair. You have You have a World Cup winning goalkeeper in Hugo Lloris. You have the three best midfielders, Wanyama, Eric Dyer, Christian Eriksen, and the rest of them were in your team. And then you have a guy who won the highest goal scorer award back to back. Been scoring over 20 goals in the last 3 or 4 seasons in your team. Which signing are you looking for that will make you not to win at least the FA Cup or the Carling Cup? This club have not won a title in like 14 years. Help me sing this song. See, Pochettino's sack was long overdue. They've not won a match away from home. They've not won a match away from home since January. Jose Mourinho just came in and they won. So Pochettino's sack has become, and then he's been flirting with everybody. Today he wants to go back to Espanyol, small club mentality. He wants to finish his career at Espanyol. Who asked you? Tell me about your ex-boyfriend. If it was so good, why did you stay with him?
Well, on that note, and based on the fact that we can now see that managers are not in charge of these things again, where do you think is Pochettino going down the hill with this? Because he had the legacy of being the manager that did not sign anybody but took his team to the Champions League final. He could have left on a high with that alone, but with this sack now, where do you see him headed?
Okay, about living on a high, there is no manager anywhere in the world that gets to that point of almost at the point of glory and says, I want to relax. I think the human nature is not that relaxed. We are very competitive, so he will try again. So that point of we should have left last season, that doesn't fly with me. And also back to the point where I said the club has not backed him enough. I understand that managers 100% are not in charge, but I think there's a point where you make recommendations to the board. Then you also attempt to keep your best players. Christian Eriksen today is winding down his contract.
He wants to leave.
The club has still not been able to tie him down to a contract, and nobody's saying anything. Eriksen is not coming out public. The club is not coming out public. Pochettino too doesn't say anything. Before he left, he didn't say anything public about Christian Eriksen's situation. About Pochettino going down the hill, I do not think so, because I believe if Pochettino, if the manager that was sacked from Tottenham was not Pochettino, the ideal manager that should have replaced the person that was sacked should have been Pochettino, based on the prevailing conditions at the club. Daniel Levy is a tight-fisted person. Over the past 5 years, I don't think they spent up to £300 million. There is no elite manager in the world. Tottenham are punching above their weight. Jose Mourinho that just come in would demand transfers in the next 6 months. Daniel Levy would not give him that money. I do not think he'll give him that money, because this season Tottenham are not winning the league. Based on what we've seen so far, they are not going to get to where they got to last year.
Are they going to win the
Can I come in here? Okay. Let me put it this way, because I support Arsenal. When Arsenal started building the new stadium, they stopped signing players. They started going for leftovers. Daniel Levy, whether somebody is your enemy or not, when they progress, you study them. Daniel Levy is an Arsenal wannabe kind of guy. Arsenal built a 60,000 capacity stadium.
He went out, he did the same.
61. Arsenal built a training ground. They did. He's an Arsenal wannabe kind of person. I must beat Arsenal to it, but in beating them, I must do it their way. That Arsenal way. You see the way Arsenal play is how Tottenham wants to play. Now the good thing with Jose Mourinho is signing Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola is like buying a Ferrari. You don't buy a Ferrari and say, I am looking for, what's that thing that Francis thought of?
Lift coaster.
You don't plan coast lifting with a Ferrari. You will buy a lot of fuel. So with him already, you're already paying him 15 million per annum. It will come with his excesses, because this is turbo, multiple exhausts. It will come, it will tell, he already saying he wants to bring in Zlatan Ibrahimovic. It will tell you who and who he wants to bring, and you will bring them on board. If he wants Eriksen will stay. If Mourinho wants Eriksen to stay, he will say, we'll just convince him, whatever they're going to give you, I'll get it to you. I will win a trophy with you. And that trophy might be the Capital One Cup, and then next the FA Cup, and then, next season he tells them, we're going to compete for this league title, because right now it is scattered. It is for everybody. And when all that comes in, Levy will see it. But the problem with Pochettino is because he's not coached at a club that is bigger than this level before. He's scared. He said he wants camera in the training ground. They refused him. Next thing, they brought in another camera in his office because Amazon is paying £10 million. You see that Levy is looking for money. And now Enik came in, and Enik had their condition before they decided to sponsor. Now they have a big stadium. They are playing NFL games there that would also bring in a lot of money. They will spend the money.
Well, Edafi, just before we leave this session on Mourinho, Pochettino, he started off with a win. Dele Alli was brilliant in that game. He really was. You could see it with the pass he gave Son. But is Mourinho the perfect fit for Tottenham? They needed a trophy immediately. Mourinho is the manager that gives you a trophy immediately. Yeah. Is it the perfect fit?
You want me to go into details? I will go into details.
Okay.
All right. Now, less than 300 managers have coached in the Premier League from the inception in 1992. Okay. Out of that 300, the average lifespan is less than 1,200 days, and the average win ratio is 30%. Okay. The average win is 30 win, 25 losses, and 30 draws over 91 games or thereabout. Okay. Jose Mourinho is just about fourth on the rankings in terms of the number of points won per game. He stands at 2.11 behind Pep Guardiola, Alex Ferguson, and Antonio Conte, who has 2.14. So what that tells you is that Jose Mourinho is not just a coach who you bring in for the sake of it. Yeah. He's one who will deliver. So I think he's the right man for the job. Now, I also said that from the list of the 300 managers who have managed in the Premier League, less than 30% of them have managed to secure a second Premier League job. Tottenham Hotspur is Jose Mourinho's third job in the Premier League. It means it's not just good. Jose Mourinho is exceptional.
And if you add his return back to Chelsea, you could call it for.
Yeah, you can imagine. He's exceptional.
Well, when the professor talks, you have to jot and take notes. He has said Mourinho will deliver the Champions League for Tottenham.
In case anybody here is not going to ask, let me ask our producer. Producer, are you the one that is sneaking all this information to me? Because I don't know what website to How did they do across?
Well, that's top secret for ELEGBETE TV.
that's why we call him our professor. We'll be leaving football for now. We're going to basketball. And Ayotunde Onabolu is going to tell us about some new rules, about what the top 6 in the league would they'll get to the playoffs, and what those that don't make the top 6, what will happen to them. How are you doing?
Hello everyone, and welcome again to the best of basketball with me, Ayo, on the Sports Lounge, only on ELEGBETE TV. Thanks a lot for tuning in as always. We'll be looking at a very interesting topic today. Now, the NBA currently has plans to modify the NBA season as we know it right now, and the changes might take effect as early as the 2021-2022 season, which will be the celebration of the 75th year of the existence of the NBA. Talks are going on between the National Basketball Association NBA and the National Basketball Players Association NBPA to bring these changes into effect, and it will affect how many regular season games are played and the format of the playoffs, plus some additional incentives here and there. And before I let you know what these changes are, let me let you know exactly how it currently stands, what the format currently looks like. There are 30 teams in the NBA, split into 15 each across 2 conferences, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. And at the end of the regular season, by the way, each team plays 82 games in the regular season. At the end of the regular season, teams are ranked from number 1 to 15, and number 1 through number 8 automatically make it to the playoffs, where in the very first round, number 1 seeded team will go up against number 8, number 2 will go up against number 7, number 3 against number 6, and number 4 against number 5. And from there, you can navigate the rest of your way all the way to the NBA Finals. There will be conference finals, the best 2 teams in the West and the best 2 teams in the East, and the winner of each conference will now meet the other winner in the NBA Finals, decided over 7 games. Now, what are some of the changes? Number 1, the regular season, they're looking at reducing it from the current 82 games to 78 games at the very minimum. There might be 78 games, there might be 79 games. It depends, time will tell. Now, the idea is this. Under normal circumstances, what we're used to, if you're ranked between number 1 and number 8, you're automatically in the playoffs. But going forward, only teams that finish number 1 to number 6 will automatically make it to the playoffs. So what happens to teams that finish 7th and 8th? The 7th and 8th seeded teams in each conference will go head to head, and the winner will advance to the playoffs. Now, the loser of that matchup will now have to play the winner of the 9th and the 10th seeds to determine who the final team in each conference will be. And that is very key, and that is very exciting, and I love it so much because I feel like it will add to the amount of competition we see in the league. So in the case where usually you find teams resting their star players because they feel like right now we're safe, we're number 6 in the conference, we'll be making it to the playoffs anyway. You don't want to finish number 6 now because you might be slipping to number 7. And the fact that you finish number 7 doesn't mean you make the playoffs, because now teams ranked from number 7 all the way to number 10 now have a legit chance to make it to the NBA playoffs, and that will increase the level of competition. And I feel like that will tackle one issue I've mentioned about lately, talking about load management, where teams rest their very best players. We don't want to see best players being rested when there are games to play. So now there'll be reduced regular season, and then there'll be in-game plays, in-season plays to determine the overall teams that'll make it into the playoffs. Now, even the playoffs will now be very interesting, because when you get to the conference finals, which will be the semi-final level of the team, it will no longer be conference finals where you have 2 teams in the Western Conference play, you have 2 teams in the Eastern Conference play, and then the overall winners will play in the NBA Finals. That is going to change. Those 4 teams will now play in what is called the NBA semifinals, and they will be ranked according to their regular season record. So right now, you know that there are teams you want to avoid. By all means, you just have to play the very best basketball you can during the regular season, because it might come back to haunt you. So you might actually have 2 Western Conference teams in the NBA Finals, or you have 2 Eastern Conference teams in the NBA Finals. Whatever happens, the aim of this is to ensure that it is the very best teams, the 2 best teams that play, regardless of what happens. I mean, when the Golden State Warriors went in their run, the second best team for the most part in the Western Conference were the Houston Rockets. And a lot of people actually felt the Houston Rockets were better than the entire Eastern Conference, meaning if it was the Houston Rockets that played against LeBron James and the Cavs in those NBA finals, they still could have beaten them. So right now we might be having that kind of hypothetical scenario where it's actually the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets of the last 3 years that will play together in the NBA finals. That exactly is what we want, the best teams to play. Now, another addition to the season, which I don't know how I feel about it, is the introduction of a mid-season tournament. Now, they're trying to take a leaf from European football. Countries in Europe have their domestic leagues, they have their domestic cups, and then they have the continental championships, talking about the UEFA Champions League and the UEFA Europa League. So the NBA is trying to get a tournament which will start after Thanksgiving, which will be late November, to involve all 30 teams where they play for a cup. And then the players and coaches will be rewarded for winning. But I don't know how teams will respond to a mid-season tournament that does not have an overall impact on the NBA title. So that I don't know exactly how that feels. Maybe some things will be looked into. But whatever happens, come 2021, 2022 season, I feel like I'll be very excited to see these new rules and these new changes implemented in the NBA. And that'll be it on this episode of The Best of Basketball with me, Ayo. Make sure you stick around and still enjoy the very best of the Sports Lounge on ELEGBETE TV. But I'll be back next episode with another juicy package of the show. And until then, you know how we do it. It's clutch time, baby.
Hi, my name is Maureen. I'm from Uganda and I watch ELEGBETE TV.
Hi, my name is Oscar and I am from San Antonio, USA, and I like to watch ELEGBETE TV.
My name is Yesenia. I'm from San Antonio, US. I watch ELEGBETE TV.
Thank you very much, Ayotunde. But let's bring our guest again into you support Real Madrid, you love Real Madrid. How long have you been supporting Real Madrid?
15 years.
Wow, that's a long time ago. But anyways, they are currently doing catch-up with Barcelona at the moment. Just how well, Hazard put in a decent performance, played well, but playing well is not enough for Madrid fans. We all know that. Whether you like it or not, Hazard was brought in to replace Ronaldo. When will he start delivering the goals? When will he start delivering the goals? And what do you think his scorecard has been for the season so far?
Okay, so I think Madrid made a major mistake by signing Hazard a year late. The best time to have signed Hazard was immediately after the World Cup. Hazard joined Madrid at age 28. A burdening period of, let's give him marks, a burdening period of 1 year. By the time he gets to that level Madrid fans will want, he was already 29, heading to 30. Now, Hazard replacing Ronaldo, I do not think that would be correct. In the sense that Ronaldo used to play, he and Benzema used to switch positions. Hazard is less fruitful than Ronaldo. He's not that guy that gets you 40 goals a season. Hazard gets involved in the play. When you hear Madrid scorelines, you hear 3-1. You hear, Hazard didn't score, no goal, no assist. It sounds surprising. You're like, oh, this guy is going to play rubbish again. But if you watch the game, you see Hazard in the game. And funny enough, that was the excuse Chelsea fans used to give. That no, Hazard is always involved in the game. Dribbles, completed. Those were the sticks that fans of EPL clubs used to flog Hazard then. Now, that is happening too with Madrid. Madrid fans are is on an upward trajectory. But will he get those goals? I do not think so. I think we made a mistake. Madrid made a mistake in signing Hazard.
So just quickly, before moving on for you, just two quick answers. What was Hazard's scorecard over 10 for you so far this season?
Over 10, I would give him 5.
Wow. Then 2, Gareth Bale's situation. Is he leaving? He came on and he was booed almost throughout the duration he played. Should he leave?
I think he should leave. It would be best for both parties. He himself is... If you watch that video, if you watch the full length of the video, he did not see that banner. They brought the banner to him and he was behind the banner. They brought the banner, he did not see the banner. But like I told some people, the moment he noticed that was what was on the banner, or when he saw the smoke on social media that this is what Bale has done, I think he should have apologized to the club on social media to at least. But the fact that he didn't say anything shows that even he is okay. His mind is no longer in Madrid. Yeah. And it's difficult to argue against Bale because even when he comes into games, he delivers. Yeah. It's annoying. Yeah. So Madrid fans are in the middle. Yesterday when he came on, he played in 20 minutes. He played better than Rodrigo, who had played for 70 minutes.
So, all right. But before we round up the show, thank you so very much, Tokwe. Edafe. That's a lovely jersey, by the way. Let's stand up and show.
FMFC Football Club. FMFC Football Club. It's an all-star team. We have better jersey than the 20 clubs in the Nigerian professional football.
Table shaker.
Anyway,
20 clubs.
Anybody.
I'm doing the stockings and everything.
anyways, John Fashanu came out and he says Nigeria expecting players to come and play for them, and they don't even give them any retirement benefit. He claimed, and he even came out to say that the English FA is still paying him a certain very good amount of money,
5 million.
5 million, even in his retirement. What do you think? What do you have to say about that?
Major Fashanu go sit down where container. Fashanu was a member of the Nigerian Presidential Task Force for the qualification for the 2010 World Cup. That's one. John Fashanu, on the other hand, told a lie with that story. There is the truth that if you play in the English Premier League, you get money. But it is not about playing for English national team. And it is not the English FA that gives you that money. It is the PFA. All over Europe, you HRO person, Abi. All over Europe, there is this pension scheme that works, that we're trying to do in Nigeria. Obasanjo, I think, was the one that introduced it. But it has not settled down in Nigeria. Now, in Europe, the way it works in England is when you earn your salary, there is a particular amount of money that you contribute to the pension scheme in the PFA. When you contribute that money, you can decide that, okay, maybe I'm supposed to be contributing £1,000 every month. You can decide I want to put more so that when I retire, I will earn more. But it is not, I repeat it is not the English FA that gives you that money. So all that talk about English FA paying you, think about all the players that have played for England. John Fashanu that is talking played only 2 games. None of them was 90 minutes. So Major Fashanu go sit down and container. See, we're not there. When we get there, we will do that. It's working for the PFA, and it works for everybody that plays, and depends on how much you contribute to the pot of that pension money. But for those who did not contribute to their player, gas going, who they give them money? So let's leave all those talk and move on a bit.